So today's video starts with the most Canadian power move of the year. Prime Minister Mark Carney was asked when he last spoke to Donald Trump, and he said two beautiful words we've all been dying to hear. Who cares?
Not soon, not we're in contact, not we're working on it. Nope, just a very polite who cares. Which, let's be honest, it's exactly where Canada's at right now.
Well, Trump boycotts the G20 because he thinks South Africa is being unfair to white farmers. Carney is out there running half the summit, meeting with world leaders, signing deals, fixing the future, basically acting like a guy with an adult job.
Meanwhile, Trump's over on Truth Social posting apocalypse memes like he's auditioning for the CEO of QAnon. Nothing can stop what's coming. Time to obliterate this deep state. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Yeah, totally normal behavior for a president.
The contrast is brutal. One man's building Canada's economy, and the other, well, he's tearing down his own country one bad idea at a time and somehow decided nursing isn't even a real profession. Tell that to literally anyone who's been in a hospital.
So today, we're breaking it all down. Why Carney said who cares, why the right-wing media melted down over it, and why this might be the clearest sign yet that Canada isn't just surviving Trump's meltdowns, we're surpassing them.
But before we dive in, quick question to everybody. Do you agree with Carney's who cares? Or do you think Canada should still tiptoe around Trump? Let us know in the comments because we want to hear from you. But now, let's get into it.
So here's the clip. A reporter asked Carney when he last spoke to Trump. He doesn't blink. He doesn't shuffle. He just sighs and said, who cares? I mean, it's a detail.
That's not dismissing Trump. That's dismissing the drama. For 9 years, Canada's been treated like a side character in the Donald Trump show. Carney, he just finally changed the channel.
And then he says, I'll speak to him again when it matters, which is the prime minister version of saying, I'm busy, I'm making other deals, I'm looking after my country, not waiting for a child to change his mind.
Trump hears that and thinks it's disrespect. Canadians hear it and think, finally. And clearly, Washington agreed because 48 hours later, he might be heading back to the White House.
Well, that's the thing about Trump. He only respects strength because he spent his whole life flailing for it. If you act desperate, he'll steamroll you. But if you act strong, he suddenly wants to talk.
Bloomberg, CTV, everyone's saying the same thing. Carney's likely heading back to Washington next week. It'll be his third trip since April.
And that's the tell. Trump tried to freeze him out, blamed an Ontario ad, and declared the talks dead. But the moment Carney stopped chasing the conversation, Washington started moving again.
So while Trump's boycotting the G20 over a fake white farmer genocide, Carney was doing actual diplomacy. You know, the kind that changes Canada's future.
And this summit wasn't just handshakes and photo ops. Canada walked in prepared, and Carney walked out as one of the key players. Every major leader wanted time with him. India, Japan, South Africa, the EU. Canada wasn't on the sidelines. We were steering half the conversation.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? Real democracies show up to see how they can work together. Authoritarians storm off, boycott, and sulk on social media. The US skipped the meeting entirely, isolating itself the same way authoritarian regimes do when they don't want scrutiny or accountability.
And while the US followed that authoritarian playbook right out the door, Canada stepped into the leadership vacuum.
And here's the part the right-wing media pretends not to understand. Carney's not ignoring Trump out of ego. He's ignoring him because Canada finally has other options, better options, and he's been proving it country by country.
Take India, for example. That relationship was basically frozen solid last year after the 2023 killing and the diplomatic meltdown that followed. And the relationship basically flatlined.
But here's the important part. Carney isn't pretending everything's fine. He's not saying we suddenly share values with India. He's not shutting down investigations. He's not sweeping a murder under the rug.
What he's saying is Canada has to protect our interests. We can demand accountability while still doing business in the 21st century global economy. Both things can be true.
Because let's be real, if people are furious about doing business with India, where's that energy for the United States? This is the same America threatening to annex Canada, impose illegal tariffs, and call us the 51st state. If moral purity is the new standard, then why does Washington get a free pass?
Definitely. Listen, no country is perfect. Some have serious human rights issues, including the one directly south of us. But Canada can't afford to sit in a corner waiting for a flawless trading partner that doesn't exist. We need to lead by example, not by isolation.
And the result? Carney sits down with Modi twice, and suddenly ambassadors reinstated, trade talks restarted, and India publicly saying there's significant momentum.
That's diplomacy, not approval, not an endorsement, just a smart strategy from a country that wants to grow, not shrink.
And then there's South Africa. Trump's off repeating a conspiracy that's been pushed for years by white nationalist groups. And Carney? Well, he's actually sitting down with South Africa's president to launch a real investment partnership.
Carney signed the opening agreement for a new investment protection deal. That's huge for Canadian companies trying to enter African markets.
And Japan. Carney didn't just shake hands, he got Japan on board with deeper Indo-Pacific coordination, especially on AI and clean energy. Japan's prime minister literally said there are high expectations for Canada.
You could almost hear Mega scream from across the Pacific. Canada's not allowed to talk to other countries. Too late. Carney already RSVP'd yes.
Now, Europe is where this gets wild. For years, Canada complained that the EU wasn't ratifying CETA. Carney walks in and says, let's stop admiring the problem and fix it. And the EU basically says, yeah, fair enough. Now, Canada gets a pathway into Europe's $173 billion defense and rearmament procurement plan. That is contracts, jobs, supply chains, manufacturing, the real stuff.
And the fact that Europe opened that door while Trump boycotts the G20 tells you everything you need to know about where the global trust is shifting.
And while he's at it, Carney pulled together a Ukraine strategy call with the G20 nations actually doing the work. He even told reporters, we don't need to call President Trump to coordinate our position.
The Americans showed up with a 28-point proposal that read less like a peace plan and more like Moscow's wish list with the Kremlin's interests in mind. Carney's doing the opposite. He's tightening the line with Europe, he's backing Ukraine's sovereignty, and he's making sure Washington knows exactly where Canada stands.
Carney even said the quiet part out loud. He told reporters, we like point number 1, Ukraine as a sovereign nation. That's a good start.
And this is where that we don't need to call President Trump line really matters. Carney basically said, our national security advisors will coordinate the response. I'll speak with President Zelensky to close the loop.
In other words, we're talking directly to Ukraine, directly to our allies, and Trump can get the memo like everyone else.
That's leadership, actual alignment with the country that was invaded, not the one doing the invading.
Carney put it perfectly. I look at it from who shows up, who engages, who does the work, and Canada shows up.
And honestly, we haven't looked this confident on the world stage in decades.
Then there's the Indo-Pacific, let's not forget about that, where Canada has been punching above its weight class. Indonesia deal signed, UAE talks launched, security coordination with Japan, and now a trilateral partnership with India and Australia on tech, AI, and critical minerals.
That one might be the sleeper hit, Dave. 3 democracies building the tech pipelines of the future, and Canada's right in the middle of it.
MAGA spent the week escalating, calling war heroes traitors, demanding executions, rounding up protesters in unmarked vans, and testing how far they can push federal power. Carney, well, he spent it strengthening Canada's economy and alliances.
Meanwhile, the right-wing media keeps pretending Carney's "who cares" comment came out of nowhere. You know what? It didn't. It came after Trump had a full-blown meltdown because Ontario ran an anti-tariff ad using the voice of Ronald Reagan.
Not exactly a radical Marxist, right? Reagan literally said tariffs cause trade wars and destroy American jobs. And Trump? Well, he hears Reagan quoting Reagan and goes, that's it. Canada has betrayed me.
He halted trade talks. He threatened new tariffs. He declared he would not be speaking to Carney for a while. All because Doug Ford's Ontario government played a 1980s PSA that hurt his feelings.
And this is the best part. Carney apologized. Trump accepted it. And guess what? Carney still moved on anyway. That's what adults do. Acknowledge the moment and get back to work. And by the way, Trump never did add that extra 10% tariffs he threatened.
And then Carney drops the line that made every conservative blow their minds. Carney says, I've been busy. We passed a budget that's going to catalyze $1 trillion of investment. We launched new trade agreements. We secured new investment not seen arguably ever before.
That's a man saying, I'm building an economy. I'm not chasing a phone call.
And honestly, he's right. Canada has moved on from needing Trump's attention. Trump's the one stalling trade talks, not us. We're the ones signing deals. We're the ones globetrotting. We're the ones with economic momentum.
Conservatives also tried to spin this as a Carney can't get Trump to the table. No, Trump left the table. Carney just decided not to sit around waiting for him to wander back.
Now, let's talk about the part everyone keeps forgetting. The Canada-US-Mexico Agreement, CUSMA. It comes up for renewal next year, and Trump is counting on that review to squeeze Canada.
He thinks Canada's going to walk into those talks on our knees begging him to lift tariffs. That's why his people keep floating these little we won't extend the agreement threats. It's leverage, classic Trump leverage.
Except it's not 2018 anymore, Donnie. Canada isn't standing there alone with a polite smile and NAFTA binder. Carney's been rebuilding our backup plans for months.
And that's the key. You can only pressure a country if they have nowhere else to go. But look around now. We've got China thawing. That relationship was frozen for 7 years. No meetings, no progress, nothing. Now Carney walks into the room with Xi Jinping and suddenly you've got a turning point, an invitation to Beijing, and a path to thaw one of the toughest diplomatic icebergs on Earth.
And don't forget, Carney's been lining up energy corridors and investment deals with Mexico, turning what used to be a straight North and South dependency into a real partnership.
And that really matters in a world where Trump keeps threatening CUSMA. The more Canada and Mexico build together, the less we have to tiptoe around American chaos.
Canada isn't cornered, Trump is. India re-engaged, Europe's opening the defense procurement vault, Indonesia, UAE, Mexico, Australia, all strengthening ties. And Japan calling us a strategic partner.
And here's the truth the conservatives don't want to say out loud. Trump's leverage is shrinking. His boycott of the G20 backfired, his tariffs backfired, his threats made the world pivot away from him and towards Canada.
And now he's walking into a CUSMA review where Canada is more diversified than any point in modern history.
When Carney said, I don't have a burning issue to talk to the president about it, it wasn't attitude, it was a message. Canada is not negotiating from desperation this time.
The CUSMA review is going to be messy, that's true. The US will try to weaponize it, they'll push it, they'll stall, they'll drag Canada back into the chaos. But for the first time since this whole trade saga began, Canada is walking into it with a plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D.
And that's why Carney can take his time. He knows we've prepared for the uncertainty. He knows we're diversified. He knows we've rebuilt our international alliances.
Trump can threaten to walk away, and Carney can shrug and say, who cares? We'll talk when it matters.
So let's bring this all home, because that who cares moment, it wasn't just a clapback. It was a shift, a signal, a line in the sand.
For almost a decade, Trump treated Canada like we were orbiting him, like every decision we made needed his approval, his attention.
And for nearly a decade, our leaders tiptoed around that, trying not to provoke him, trying not to upset him, trying to manage the chaos.
But Carney isn't tiptoeing. He's governing, he's planning, he's building. He's doing it without asking for Trump's permission.
Yet while Trump yells into the void about tariffs, Canada is preparing for CUSMA like a country with leverage, not fear.
And while Trump continues to isolate the USA, Canada is becoming the connector, the bridge builder, the leader in the room.
Carney's who cares wasn't rude. It was accurate. Because at this moment in history, Canada isn't waiting for the United States to decide when our future begins. And honestly, that might be the most Canadian flex of the century.
We've spent years being told Canada is too small to matter, but the world is telling a different story now. China, India, Europe, Africa, the Indo-Pacific, they're taking Canada seriously.
And the fact that our prime minister can look at a reporter and say, I don't have a burning issue to talk to Trump about, well, that tells you everything about where Canada is standing and where Trump is falling.
And if he wants to talk, great. Canada will be ready when it matters.
Until then, who cares?
All right, that's today's dive into the G20, the who cares, heard around the world, and Canada quietly running circles around the Trump chaos machine.
If you made it this far, you're officially part of the Canada Shows Up Club. So check out our Substack and join the A-Team. Plus, stick around and watch our playlist of how Canada is diversifying, growing, and leaving the USA in the dust.
And grab our merch. It's 15% off all week. Get your Mega Detector mug, Vive la Canada t-shirt, or Keep Calm and Carney on sweatshirt.
And remember, the future's happening with or without Trump, and Canada's choosing forward.
I want the last decade back. See you in the next one, everyone. Thanks for watching.